Well, hello there. Been a while, hasn't it? For those of you who have joined us here on YouTube in the past few months of me not making videos, welcome. My name is Chester and I talk still about SpongeBob games on this little platform here. Now, no self-respecting SpongeBob game talking man could dare to show their face on said platform if they allowed a fresh piece of content to slip through their fingers while they were already running out of content. So a SpongeBob game released and I didn't talk about it. I've been making videos on SpongeBob and Nickelodeon stuff for 5 years at this point, and this was literally the first proper new console SpongeBob game to release in that half a decade I'd been in the proverbial ring. I basically talked about this game for 5 years, covering every rumor and every little bit of information leading up to its announcement and eventual release. I talked about it every step of the way and repeating time and time again that I was going to make a review of it. I made a 10-part Let's Play of this damn game, and in every episode I discussed the reviewing process. It has now been in our sweaty hands for a year, and I still haven't gotten to it, and that's for a pretty good reason. Now, for any of you who have been hanging around on the channel for any meaningful or extended period of time, you will know that I'm a rather blunt person. If you want to put it nicely, then I am a very honest person. That's how most of my #IRL friends describe me. So in that same way, I created a rather blunt script at the time, but it didn't really work because my opinion at the time was more complicated than bluntness would allow. So this has now taken me a year to think over and a few months to finally put together fully, but here is my take on that specific game. SpongeBob SquarePants For Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. A split identity. Now that's a title that'll make Nerd Ryder shaking his boots. Mwah, a chef's kiss it. Mwah, it's delicious.
What we're gonna do right here is go back. 1, 2, 3, 4.
To properly understand the issue I have with Rehydrated, we've got to go back and look at remasters and remakes in the video game industry and try to understand them, and I can share with you the grounds for my thinking. Remasters and remakes have become such commonplace in the industry over the past few years, so much so that one of the launch titles of the PlayStation 5 was a remake. Or is this a remaster? Who knows? Well, what is the difference? A remaster is an updated version of an older game, featuring the same core code, but it's been prettied up, given a fresh coat of mud. It's now in 4K. Ooh, the frame rate is better. It's got them fancy textures now. The eyes are still dead, but hey, look at the fancy lens flares. In my humble opinion, remasters are the extremely boring trend in modern gaming. As someone who is entirely unconcerned with how many pixels are in my face at any given moment, remasters don't interest me as much as they don't modernize an experience. They modernize the ability to have the experience. They bring it to new platforms. They make it more visually accessible, hopefully fix any bugs, that sort of thing. But the game is still the same at its core. The Ezio edition looks a bit better, but at its core, you're still playing an Xbox 360 game. A remaster seeks to modernize the ability to play something. It is remastering, lightly improving what was already there. A remake is taking an experience, stripping it down to what the developers believe are the core, most identifying elements of the experience, and then refilling in the spaces with modern, updated gameplay mechanics and development techniques. The update can be huge, such as moving entire genres or adding in a whole new dimension. They can be successful in maintaining everything that made the original great, or in the process of updating it, lose the original vision of the project and leave you with something entirely different. A remake seeks to modernize the experience of something. It is remaking, rebuilding, taking the blueprints from before and creating something new that replaces what was there before. I'm just shooting this completely off my head because it just kind of came to me in this moment and it's completely off script, but an example I kind of guess would work would be take 1990's It, the movie. There is like a 4K or like a Blu-ray release of that. That is the equivalent of a remaster. It's better than the movie or TV series was ever seen originally. It is an improvement, it is visually better, you can plop it in your Blu-ray player and your 4K player and it works great. It is a modernized way to experience that original creation. And then you have the 2017 remake, which is a recreation, and it is modernized in its filmmaking techniques and its script writing and its presentation, and the ability to access it is more modern through streamings and all that type of stuff. That's kind of, it's a less refined concept. It literally just came to my head like right now, but I thought I would chuck it out there. This is where we get into a bit of a complex position with For Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Using the criteria I have laid out here, I would say it fits pretty snugly into the remake position. Except, does it? Everything has been remade from the ground up. There isn't any PS2 code here. This isn't like the Ezio edition where we have the same game but with slightly uglier faces now. The game has been remade, but falls pretty well into the remastered space as well. Outside of minor things, only the visuals of the game are substantially different, and just about every change from the original in, say, the length of the boss battles or the mechanics of Sandy's hover ability are made worse in the remake. They haven't been modernized, they've been disturbed. But the changes are very minor in most regards, outside of the visuals. But I hope you see the problem here. It doesn't perfectly fit either because it is a remade game, but with no modernizing aspects outside of the visuals, which is all a remaster really does. This game doesn't exactly fit. Once again, going off script, because it's always a great idea, and bring it back to that film idea I had before. It's like you're sitting down to watch Back to the Future, and you see Back to the Future, but with completely different actors, and the CGI is better, but it's shot all in the same locations with the exact same camera angles, using the exact same music and the exact same audio from the original movie with no alterations except the fact that they're different faces and the CGI in parts is slightly better. Yeah, it's the same audio, the same music, the exact same shot composition and scene composition, the exact same acting decisions are made just with different faces. That's the type of thing it was like, well, that's not a Blu-ray release of Back to the Future, and that's also not a remake of Back to the Future. It's that type of weird grey area where this game falls. The game has had its ability to be experienced modernized, but is very much the same core game. Its gameplay hasn't been updated for modern gamers. It is the same. So are the levels, so is the layout and presentation of the game. The bosses are the same, the dialogue is the same, abilities are the same, locations of items are the same, missing voice actors are the same, the enemies are the same, Kelp Forest is the same, the music is the same. It is so similar to the original that that aspect was even used in marketing, showing that a dad who played the game as a kid playing exactly what he played before, but now his daughter can play it because the ability to play it has been modernized, i.e. a remaster. But it has been remade from the ground up. Everything has been made brand new. So it's also a remake. It's got way more glitches, the boss fights are worse, the theater is worse, Sandy's hover is worse, but hey, the visuals are different. Now, obviously there are more differences between the two experiences, but they are minor, and I'm not going to go through and list them individually. I'm just trying to give some examples as to the issue here. The game fits and also doesn't fit both criteria. Now, if you hyper-focus on specific elements, you could push it into one area over the other. That isn't hard to do. I can just talk about how it features none of the original code and therefore is a remake. Simple. Or I could talk about how it features no substantial updates or modernizing outside of reasonable changes to the visuals and where the game is playable, making it a remaster as not enough is changed and its very marketing pushes the fact that barely anything has changed. Simple. You can absolutely push it into one criteria if you simplify the hell out of it and try to ignore everything that doesn't fit with your argument. But yes, it can be done. But this disconnect makes it very difficult to foster an opinion on the game, at least for me, because the game exists in two places at once, and criticism will land firmly if it is in one camp, but will bounce off it if it is in another. For instance, issues of the original, such as being able to meet the robots out of the order they are introduced to you, has not been rectified. Well, it's a remaster. What do you expect? This isn't a massive overhaul. Changes to Sandy's swinging is difficult to get used to and feels uncanny. Well, that's because you played the original and expect it to be one way, but this game is made for new audiences. It's a remake after all, not everything is going to be the same. You're just a fanboy who wants everything to be exactly the same. I believe this issue comes down to the developers not having a clear goal on what exactly this was going to be. They were too afraid to make substantial changes to the point they didn't fix clear issues with the original game. I believe strongly that they pandered way too much to a vocal part of the community that in reality just wanted a remaster. Bringing in people like Shift to tell them if the mechanics of movement fit with the original is fine and dandy if you are remastering the game and are just trying to tone everything up a bit better, but speaks of greater issues when you are remaking the game. I believe a lot of this is due to Purple Lamp being a smaller, less experienced development company. This is just about their first proper, large budget game, at least to this scale, and easily helped bring them into the public eye. The problem with that is that you take a less experienced developer and give them the responsibility of developing a remake/remaster of a game that has an extremely vocal, extremely protective fan base that has been begging for this for a very long time. But they haven't been clear in exactly what they were asking for. We always just wanted something. We wanted the ability to play this game in high definition on our new consoles. The rest kind of depended on who you asked. Some people leant more towards a remake, while others, often those in the speedrun community, wanted more in line with a remaster that didn't affect their ability to speedrun or fix specific bugs that were core to the speedrunning community. I myself, whenever I would make a video talking about it, would ask for a remake or a remaster, as I never had a particularly strong opinion on the original game, I just wanted a new SpongeBob game. I believe Purple Lamp spent far too long pandering to what the community was demanding of them, and as a result tried to satisfy everyone. Remaking the game but changing as little as possible to satisfy those who only really wanted a re-release. I believe it speaks to a lack of confidence and a lack of experience on their front. Now, I am by no means bashing Purple Lamp. You aren't just ordained with experience and confidence. You have to make mistakes and improve, and this was definitely a huge step up for them, and I believe, given the time constraints, the mixed messages from fans, and their lack of experience, they did the best job they could with the cards they were dealt. And I really hope they are given many more opportunities by THQ Nordic to make more games in the Nickelodeon franchise, because their next will undoubtedly be better, and I think they have huge promise as a company. And no, I'm not just saying that because they respond to people's tweets fairly often. I think they have an opportunity to be better than the Nick game developers of the past. They just need more time, and they need to learn to stop listening to every single demand the community tosses at them, and just try to make the best games they can. And that comes with a clear design plan and goal for what the game will be. So those are the reasons for why it's taken me so long to really review this game. I personally find it kind of impossible due to this core issue with how to perceive the game. Now, if I ignored this issue or simply didn't notice it, it would be pretty easy to review this game, but now that I've seen it, I can't really unsee it. My opinion changes depending on how I see it. As a remaster, it's fairly good. I dislike the new art style, but it allows me to play a decently good platformer with a Bluetooth controller and play it on my PC, which I really enjoy, but as long as I don't have to use the keyboard. It also allows for modding, which I like. As a remake, it's pretty shit though. It doesn't improve the game in any way. In fact, it only hurts it. Just about every change they've made is a bad one, and once again, I really dislike the new art style, so its main point of sale gives me no value. As I've said before, I'm a bit more concerned with if the game is fun or not, or how the mechanics of the game work together, than I am concerned with the texture of SpongeBob's pants. So no, I don't see the value in this new art style. You see? Depending on how I perceive the game, my opinion changes rather a lot. If I see it more as a remaster, it's a 5 out of 10 or closer to a 6 out of 10 now that they've added a few patches. But as a remake, it's a 4 out of 10 at best. Giving it numbers is entirely useless, don't read into them too much as they are completely pointless, but I'm just using it as a way to illustrate the issue here. Now, I will also point out I'm not a big fan of the original. I like Heavy Iron's work in other SpongeBob games, and the original is unarguably a good game, all things considered, but it has some major issues, and I have no nostalgia for it, so as a remake, this game had a lot of opportunities for improvement in my eyes. I'm not the type of person who will hate something because it's different, not at all, but I will speak out if what is different is just simply worse. I'm sure you've all already played the game and seen a dozen other people talk or play through the game, so once again, I'm not going to sit here and list all the issues and all that. We already know about them. I just wanted to make that clear before I continue on so I don't see a million comments saying that I'm a salty fanboy because Sandy's jump is slightly different. I can assure you I'm not. Now, onto my final real issue with the game, and that is the fact that it fails to do what a remake or a remaster should do. So what is the core responsibility of a remake or a remaster? Now, depending on who you are, the answer might be a bit different, but for me, their core responsibility is to give its audience a way to play an older game in a future-proofed way, updating it to give it a new lease on life and improve its longevity. You have wonderful examples of that on both sides of the fence. Resident Evil 2 has given a game that was borderline unplayable for modern audiences and has brought it back into pop culture and has given it the chance to live on for decades to come. Then you have Shin Megami Tensei 3, a remaster that's given the masses of new Persona fans a way easier way to jump onto the SMT train in a much more accessible way than in the past. So taking that into account, here's the problem. Only a few months ago, we had the whole situation of Sony shutting down the servers for the PS3 and Vita and whatnot. Now, there was enough outcry that has been stopped for now, but they'll probably be brought back up in a year or two. Here's the thing. That will happen for the PS4. It's definitely over a decade away, but it will happen. The servers will be shut down and we won't be able to download anything off of those consoles that most of you still have under your TVs. Why bring this up? Well, it means we won't be able to install day one patches or anything like that. Of course, you would still have the PC, but at that point, 3 out of the 4 places the Rehydrated was released on would only be playable without the day one patch. Physical only. This obviously ignores the app version because the App Store is already a pretty volatile place when it comes to losing apps, so who knows of all that. And obviously, this isn't a watertight example, considering older gen games are playable on current gen and all that. The situation is much more complex. I'm just using it as a way to explain the failings of the game in an understandable way. But anyway, drawing it back. But that's irrelevant, isn't it? Because we'll still have the disc versions, so it hasn't failed at modernizing the experience, because after a decade or so we can still play it on those consoles. But what type of experience will you be having? Let's move this out of the hypothetical and talk about an actual situation. So my girlfriend got herself a PS4 and decided she wanted to expand her taste in games. She'd only been playing games for about a year, and in that time she had played Skyrim, some random Kingdom Hearts game, and Persona 5. So she started trying different stuff and looking for different experiences. I at the time considered giving her my copy of Rehydrated because I already had it on PC, but then I realized a problem. My girlfriend doesn't connect her PS4 to the internet. She never has, and because of her family's internet plan, she most likely never will till she gets her own place. So basically, her gaming experience is a perfect example of what ours will be like in a decade or so when coming back to these consoles. I realized I couldn't let her play the game without the day one patch because the experience is pretty rough. The glitches are abundant and it's a really bleh experience, especially considering the visuals are just about the only selling point of the remake. To have so many visual imperfections that were at least somewhat sorted out by patches makes the day one patch sort of a necessity when it comes to the game's value. The day one patches, they help heaps with all this, but once again, she can't do that, meaning she has to play the roughest version of this game out there without any of the patches that have been released for the game. Meaning, in a decade, that's the version of the game that's at large. I realized in that moment that for her, the best way to experience the game, also considering some of the dumb changes made by Purple Lamp and debatable visual changes, the best way for her to experience this game is for me to give her my PlayStation 2 and the original copy of the game to experience a less glitchy, more cohesive game with better mechanics, arguably a more cohesive visual design, and that's coming from someone who doesn't even like the original that much. If you strip everything away and it's just you with 2 consoles in front of you and 2 discs in them, no internet, no nothing, the original is still the better, more complete experience, unless you're the type of person where visuals means more than anything else, in which case Rehydrated would be a more enjoyable experience as long as you're happy with all the visual glitches and issues without the day one patch, ignoring also the fact that the Switch version was incredibly rougher than any of the other versions at launch. But this is where you get into the problem because of the state the game released in, it cannot fulfill its purpose of future-proofing this game because it's already a step behind the original. And once again, that's an issue I just can't look past. Just because it doesn't affect us today, right this moment, doesn't mean it's a problem I can ignore in a review when it's a core responsibility of what this game is supposed to do and achieve. These are issues I can't ignore and really struggle to look past. It's the reason why this isn't a review and why I haven't really talked about the game much. The minute-to-minute gameplay is of little concern to me. It really comes down to how important the visuals are, how rosy your nostalgia glasses are or aren't, and how much you're willing to excuse or nitpick on that will affect how much you will enjoy this game. The biggest situation for me is what I've discussed thus far, and I'm sure most of you will just say that I'm nitpicking the fact that this game doesn't perfectly fit into 2 criteria and released in a bit of a buggy state, and say that I'm blowing it out of proportion, but I wouldn't agree with that idea at all. I've taken well over a year to let my thoughts really develop, and I've written 4 different review scripts that I've canned because I didn't address these issues, and I just tried to talk about the game itself. If I'm a nitpicker because of the stuff I've talked about today, I guess that's fine. I'd rather be a nitpicker than be dishonest and intentionally leave the stuff out. I personally believe it's irresponsible for me to just chuck a review out for this game and just pretend like this isn't an issue. Now, I haven't watched any reviews for this game. Not from larger publications, except for one dumb clip from like an IGN review where they couldn't work out how to use the bowling ball. But other than that, I haven't seen anything from larger publications or from my fellow content creators in the community. The only video I have actually watched is Fred5107's pre-playthrough video. I wanted to avoid my opinion being affected or distorted by those around me and my peers in a way. I want to avoid that as much as possible. I don't know if this is an issue that others have already brought up. I don't know. I want to make a point of saying though that I'm not trying to call anyone out with this video or shame anyone. I'm not saying it's irresponsible to make a review of this game. I'm saying that I couldn't let myself lie and try to not talk about it because it wasn't what people wanted. As soon as this game released, I saw the community split. It wasn't a 50-50 split, but it was a clear split that you were only allowed to really love it or hate it. And there was little room for any nuanced discussion. At least that was the picture I got from Discord groups I was in and comments I got on my Let's Plays and other videos. That killed my desire to make a review of this game because my opinion sat flat in the middle on the game itself, but my issues didn't revolve around the game itself exactly, and I didn't feel like there was a place for that in the discussion at that time. I'll make this plain now. I'm intending on moving away from covering SpongeBob content. At this point, the community has reached a level of maturity where opinions are very much set in stone, and if you've ever tried to have an argument with someone online, you know that opinions can be difficult to shift. I feel no interest in covering SpongeBob content in that way. Others have because I rarely find myself fitting with the correct opinion, quote unquote, on the game. Which is a shame because I've been around here for so long and making videos for so long that I've seen these hashtag quote unquote correct opinions form, and I've helped form a fair few of them myself. I believe much of the community has reached a stagnant point of opinion and discussion, and if I continue posting stuff for this community, I want it to push the envelope and not just be another video with SpongeBob on the title. There is also the fact that when you talk about games like this, people aren't watching a review of an older SpongeBob game to decide if they should check it out or not, at least not most people. They are trying to see if you agree with them or not, and I'm not interested in making videos like that. I don't want people to agree or disagree with me. I want to push people to dissect what they consume and not just be passive consumers. So that type of content will be taking very much a back seat. We recently hit 2,000 subscribers, and I really hope you all stick around to see some of the awesome stuff I am writing up. I am very happy and confident with the direction the channel is heading, and I hope you come along with this transition with me. I am expecting to see a great deal of people leave, half because this video will probably rub some people the wrong way, and also because a lot of people don't like change. So if you did enjoy this video, leave a comment, share it on Twitter or Reddit or Facebook, or send it to a friend who you think might be into it. That type of stuff is impossibly helpful when it comes to making these changes, and your support is extremely appreciated. But anyway, stay tuned because this channel is hashtag evolve. Yeah, it's evolving. If I knew more about Pokemon, I could make like a Pokemon reference, but nah, it's not coming.
It's a place of the imagination.